All right, welcome everyone. Here we are. We got the FOMC Minutes coming out today, and with me today we have Dirk Hartig from PrimeXBT Academy. He's joining us from Singapore, I believe. Very nice place. Looks like he has a very beautiful background out there. How's it going?
Good, good. How is everybody else doing? Good to see you guys again. Yeah, and we are kind of streaming halfway around the world, I guess, and
Yeah.
that in real times. The wonder of today's technology. It
Pretty
cannot
awesome,
be
pretty awesome.
marvelous
I
enough.
love the fact, we talked about this before we started the live stream, how, being, doing what we're doing here, being traders and having these live streams and stuff. I mean, all you need really is a laptop. And I think that's just a beautiful thing. I remember, this summer, we had some vacations here in Sweden, and I just brought my laptop, and that's basically everything I needed to work. So yeah, it's really cool to be
That's
able to just travel around.
that is so nice. Yeah, I actually worked from a beach on Bali. Did some stuff from Sumatra, and it's really, I mean, technology is so good nowadays that you can basically work from everywhere. The only thing you need, of course, is a little bit of discipline to follow your strategy still.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I remember this summer I was at a beach with my laptop. Not a great idea though, but like at the beach with a laptop, and obviously didn't have any Wi-Fi at the beach. But I, used my phone as a hotspot, like Wi-Fi hotspot, and it was great connection at the beach. So I took a minute, just looked around, and like, oh, I'm really working and trading from a beach with my
Yeah,
family just around me. It's just such a beautiful thing. Really, really grateful and blessed to be able to do this. All right.
likewise.
So today we have the FOMC. Um, lots, lots have been happening in the world of finance since our last live streams. I mean, we've had the CPI print, we had FTX,
Oh
lots of
God,
stuff
yeah.
going on. So, what's your take on the most recent CPI print, and how do you think the Fed is going to react to the market's
Mm,
reaction to the CPI print
mm,
that we
mm.
had 2 weeks ago?
Well, first of all, I mean, I was happy that this time the CPI came in lower than expected, and most importantly, even than the CPI that shows the cost. For us all, in my opinion, that the core CPI came in lower as well, because this, by the end of the day, is what the Fed uses to base or partly base their interest rate decisions on. So that's important. Moreover, we just recently had also PPI reading, sorry, PCI reading, producer cost index reading, which shows the producer side of things, which is also going down, which normally front runs the core CPI for also. So I think the Fed reading, and what we are probably going to hear tonight as well, is going to be that they still want to be strong, and that they still are going to maintain their line, that they want to keep interest rates higher for longer. That was kind of the last tone we had from the Fed. But nonetheless, I think it's a good sign that inflation finally is coming down. So I assume in 2023, maybe late 2023, we are finally going to see interest rates dropping again. And like I said, really for the last months now already, as soon as we see inflation coming down, this is going to be round about the bottom stock market. And we had this target of 3,400 to 3,600 points in the S&P 500. We hit this target a little bit earlier than I expected. Nonetheless, we hit it. And I think we are in for a small rally, and there's still, if the market continues to move now than it did at the same time 4 years under Trump, then we should see a new local top slightly over the last high we saw before the slump down, which would be somewhere slightly above, I think, 4,300 points, if I'm not mistaken. You're bringing up the chart there at the moment. So the last top there, close where your cross is now, I think it was around 4,200 something. No, correct? There, you are in silent mode right now.
Yeah, I guess it's between 4.2 and 4.3. I guess
Yeah.
this top right here.
So this is what I'm expecting right now, that we are going to see a local top there, maybe somewhere mid-December, maybe a little bit earlier, and then we should see declining markets first again.
What I like about what I like about the S&P 500 here is we've actually had, we've had quite a decent rally right here, and that the higher we trade, the more of a cushion we have to the downside. So the more room for error we get, right? I mean, imagine if we were just trading down here, then it would be so close to just take up these lows. But now we're actually creating a pretty good area for some good levels, some good support levels below.
However, I think we still, of course, we are not like totally out of the Kahoo there. If you look at from a trend perspective, we are still in a downtrend. Yeah, we made a lower low last time. If we make a lower high last time, this time now, then it's still going to be that downtrend which is maintained. And then this would come into play maybe later than what I was expecting, to take place now. Actually, that we still have this final push down. But if I'm maybe it's wrong to be, but I'm kind of optimistic because it plays out so nicely what we've been really preaching for months here now at the moment. Also, when I look at Bitcoin, I mean, we can have a look at Bitcoin there later. If I look at some of the on-chain metrics, if I look at how Bitcoin is behaving also in comparison to altcoins, we are really, really overdue, at least for a small rally of maybe 5 to 15% there. But we can look at that later, of course. Still.
So I think I do remember how we've talked about the peak inflation scenario, right? So it's actually happening, right? The inflation is showing signs of peak inflation. There's nothing denying that. I think the next CPI print will be the most important one, because if the next CPI print comes out and says, yes, we are seeing inflation coming down, then that means that whatever the Fed is doing, it's actually working. And what the Fed, if you've been following the Fed speeches, the speakers and their notes, they are basically saying that we are not going to slow down quantitative tightening. We're not going to slow down the hiking of rates until we see a clear a clear top in the in inflation. And they don't want inflation to stay where it is today. They want inflation to come down. So we need to see inflation actually topping out and continuing downwards. Now, I believe that when that happens, the bottom is already going to be in, right? Because the market is already pricing in peak inflation. And if this is peak inflation, this is the bottom, right? I think it's really that simple. Now,
it is that simple. Maybe, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. Maybe after you share my chart here. This is the inflation chart. And it's exactly what you say. If you look at it in the past, yellow line being inflation, the blue line being the S&P 500. This is a monthly chart, so a very long-term chart. The longer you look back, the clearer the picture becomes. Every time we went over 6% inflation and then started coming down, we were at or past the stock market low. And I don't see why it should be different. I mean, people always like to say, like, oh, this time it's different, but it's not, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, we're trading the markets, and history rhymes. That's how it is. And one thing that I do think that the market will react bearishly to FOMC minutes tonight, because I'm pretty sure that the Fed, well, I can't be sure, but that's the most probable and the most likely scenario that I have in mind right now, is the Fed comes out and says, yes, we like the CPI numbers, but we're not stopping. We need to make sure that inflation comes down. So we are going to stay, we have a target in mind. We're going to stay on the route. We are going to hike rates. Like if they hike rates with, 50 basis point or even lower, that would be extremely bullish. I think most people are pricing in 75 basis point, and they've talked about having a 75 basis point, right? But if they come out and hike rates lower than expected, that would be extremely bullish. But I don't think they're going to do that. I think they will first have to see signs of inflation really coming down. And imagine if I'm just going to look at Bitcoin here quickly. So if Bitcoin is going to trade around this area, so this is a very clean chart, one level. This is for me a quite obvious resistance area for Bitcoin. This is also the level where if reclaimed like this would obviously be very bullish. And looking at the higher time frames, we might even have like a local bottom being put in here to come up and test the higher time frame resistance area where we completely broke down, which is the somewhere between 18 and 19, something like that, around 19. So if the FOMC comes out tonight and Bitcoin is trading inside this area right here, and the market is going to react bearishly, I mean, there is still, oh, sorry, pressed the wrong button here. So there's still the possibility, of Bitcoin trading down to the lows of this range here again. So let's add some levels here to kind of create some type of range like that, perhaps. So there's still the possibility of Bitcoin coming down here, testing the lows, but still being able to put in a bottom with the peak inflation scenario, right? So does that logic make sense to you? That the initial reaction to FOMC will be bearish, but then maybe, the market will remember that this is actually what the Fed has been talking about all along. And even if we do have peak inflation, they're still going to have the same dovish commentary on the FOMC before it's, obvious that inflation has been peaking. And when it's obvious, that's the bottom, right? The bottom is already in when it's obvious, right?
Exactly, like when everybody can see the available information already, when it's been digested for very long already in the market. I mean, this is in general, what we do as traders. We try to front run what is happening, and we try to do this in the same way here. This is why we do all of this long-term analysis, look into the past, how was the market behaving when we had a scenario like this in the past? Because by the end of the day, what we traders are, we are always looking for patterns in the market. This is trading in a nutshell, so to say, looking for patterns. I, by the way, wouldn't be surprised to see a rate hike of 0.5% this time. I'm not so sure if we're going to see another 0.75%. But let's see. The closer we come to that date, the more this is going to change again. Tonight, for sure, we are going to have an initial bearish reaction because the market always wants a quick fix and is hoping for the best but expecting the worst. And so I'm sure we're going to see, as a first reaction, maybe not huge volatility actually, but a little bit of downward move. When it comes to Bitcoin, though, let's also not forget that Bitcoin has been outperforming in a bad way, of course, the S&P 500 lately because of this whole FTX disaster. And I think if I look at some metrics there, for example, there's like one showing, for example, let me just quickly bring this up. I think I pre-prepared this one. Here, the long-term holders of Bitcoin, they are at an all-time high. So while most retail traders or people that just maybe recently got at the all-time high into Bitcoin, into cryptocurrencies, are panic selling now because they read all over the news, my God, Bitcoin is dead, crypto is over now. We have those long-term holders, including myself, that are scooping up coins at these prices and want to hold long-term to them. And we all can see what always happened last time when we had this huge dance of long-term holders selling and then buying again. That was always corresponded quite well with the initiation of a new bull run, or at least an accumulation phase. Also, Bitcoin by the end of the day doesn't have to do anything with FTX, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about here DeFi or clearly Ponzi scam schemes, as we know now, because we didn't know that before. It doesn't have to do anything with Bitcoin. Bitcoin has a new record hash rate at the moment. Mining activity is at a record high, and we are still seeing every 10 minutes a block being produced. So Bitcoin is not crypto. And I think this is going to be one of the main stories for the next bull phase also, that kind of maybe also institutional investors are going to grasp when we talk about crypto. We're not talking about Bitcoin. That's a completely different story. Also, what I wanted to show here on Bitcoin is my beloved altcoin season index. I actually just did a video about this also last week because you can read some nice patterns out there. So every time altcoins have been outperforming Bitcoin for the past 90 days by the majority of altcoins. That is, you see this index rising to those red levels. Vice versa, if Bitcoin has been outperforming the top 50 altcoins in the last 90 days, you see it here in this green zone here. And one thing that you can, for example, read from this chart is every time we come from an altcoin season, which we did right now, that just means, altcoins were performing better than Bitcoin. It doesn't mean that you made profit with altcoins just by buying them. And this index was going below 40 or 30. Shortly after this, we saw rising Bitcoin prices again. If you look back at this pattern is kind of true 8 out of 10 times in the past, 3 years. So that's very promising. That's why I'm expecting actually that we might see a mini bull run, so to say, of Bitcoin of maybe 5, 10, or 15% in the upcoming weeks now. That is, of course, if there's not another disaster lurking around the corner, like, I don't know, what is it called, the GTBC fund going broke or something like this.
That's the problem, I mean, that's the lingering fear, and that's the problem. And I mean, honestly, why would we not see more bankruptcy and more problems in wake of FTX? So, there's definitely some. I mean, there's definitely some strong selling pressure and bearish pressure on crypto. I like what you said though, that Bitcoin is not crypto, and that really is very, very true, because Bitcoin has nothing to do with FTX. And that's a really important thing to know.
Also, I mean, imagine they actually were holding all those paper Bitcoins. No, it was just IOUs. So that was actually the real demand that was missing from the last bull cycle of Bitcoin. And I always have to imagine, if that demand really would have hit really the true Bitcoin and not just paper Bitcoin IOU letters, we probably would have seen a price at 100,000 or higher in the last bull cycle.
Yeah, very, very. That's very probable, and it's just crazy that everything about FTX is just absolutely insane. We could be talking hours about that. Let's go back to you had a chart of the long-term holders of Bitcoin. Is that Glassnode?
That is from Glassnode. Yeah, let me just quickly bring it up again. Here we go.
So I've been talking about this chart for a long time. I haven't had I haven't been able to get the subscription to access that chart right here, but I've had an idea, right? And the idea was that the true capitalization for Bitcoin would come when the long-term holders for the long-term Bitcoin holders would start selling their positions. But this is a 30-day moving average though, so I'm not really sure if that is if it's easy to see capitalization of this, but they're actually increasing their positions right here.
Yeah, they are. I mean, it's probably one term to describe them is actually a term I don't like very much. Is they are so-called smart money. I don't like this because it kind of implies that retail traders are dumb money, which is not true. I know a lot of very successful retail traders. but it shows that they are acting anti-cyclical, sorry, meaning like when we reach new all-time highs, they tend to be the ones that take profit. I think this is especially, you can see this in 2018 or late 2017. You can also see this in 2021. Although they also didn't take into account this double top we've seen them. I think nobody did probably. Yeah, but we always see this repeating pattern. After they sold their coins, there comes a phase again where they very quickly buy into the bear market and build up position again to then sell again into the next bull market.
Yeah, and I mean, with the CPI print and seeing signs of peak inflation, even though that the Fed speakers have been very clear that they want to get the job done before they think about pausing QT. The signs are there, and Bitcoin is trading very low. So for this, I mean, there's definitely a possibility that this is the bottom for the market, and at least we've started to print the bottom for the market. But what would cause a bigger risk off scenario, and what would cause Bitcoin to trade even lower?
Well, for sure, if we get a much higher than expected CPI rating. So imagine we get something around 8.7 or even 9%. That would be disastrous. And this would also kind of topple my whole hypothesis I've been having now for months. For sure. I don't believe this is going to happen. Nonetheless, of course, you're totally right. It's something we have to prepare for. That this could be a possibility. So this would topple Bitcoin. I don't want to get me started on something like black swan events. I mean, imagine something like GTBC really do not having any real Bitcoin holdings. Is all just a big scam like FTX was. Of course, that would be disastrous for the market. And for sure, we would see Bitcoin at 10,000 or even lower if that even is enough. But I mean, is that something I can trade on and invest on? You know, like a rumor that I cannot verify myself as well. I think I cannot trade on that, because by that narrative, I probably wouldn't have invested in anything for the past 40 years, because I'm not trusting banks. And banks run the legacy financial systems. So because I don't trust banks, I shouldn't invest in stocks. I mean, where do I end with this type of reasoning, you know? Do I just keep cash underneath my pillow? Do I buy gold and just keep it? I need, as a trader, to have at least a little bit of trust into the financial system, that it works and that the parties, you know, balance themselves out. And that false and faulty and scammy players like FTX turn to be out, which, by the way, is something I never in my life expected. You know, I also believed this guy, Sam Bankman-Fried, that he's, you know, like the Robin Hood of crypto, that doesn't care about money and is planning to, you know, donate all his money to charity, when this couldn't have been farther from the truth. And
I mean, I trusted FTX. I thought FTX was the best, you know, definitely one of the most, you know, developed and biggest exchanges out there, and I really did trust Sam and FTX. This just shows that this is crypto, and you can't really trust anyone or anything in crypto. That's the problem, you know. But I think, you know what, you know, I do think that, you know, when I'm buying Bitcoin here, or I'm accumulating Bitcoin, and I have this chart on here, and when I'm like thinking about accumulating Bitcoin, I still have to, because we are in a downtrend, I still have to look at levels, you know, to the downside if something happens. So if the CPI numbers comes out higher than expected, and we have some sort of domino effect of FTX, with BTC being insolvent or whatever, if that happens, Bitcoin is like most likely going down here, like most likely going down to the 10K region, right? But what happens if peak inflation is clear and the S&P 500 starts to rally while we have a black swan event in crypto, which is honestly quite likely to happen because we haven't seen the full effect of FTX. Maybe we have, but it's definitely likely that we're going to see more institutions and big company filing perhaps for bankruptcy in the near-term future because of FTX. Of course, the longer time goes by, the lower the chances of that is. But do you think that, I mean, I don't think Bitcoin is going down here in a risk-on environment, but I do, however, think that Bitcoin might trade down in this region for quite a while if we do have a risk-on scenario with a new black swan event in crypto, so to say. So I do think that, looking at the daily, my level for my level where I look for confirmation of strength on Bitcoin is a reclaim of the 19K area. So this level right here, when I see that, and of course we kind of had to reclaim actually like 21 or 22 to be able to actually print a bullish market structure. But still, a reclaim of 19K for Bitcoin, and I would be fairly confident that in a risk-on environment, we could actually look at this whole region right here like the as the capitulation event. If you look at the weekly, you'll see here that weekly candle might have been the capitulation event. I believe that these two weekly candles was the Luna crash, and I don't think this was the FTX. I believe this was FTX, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we had Luna here, and then we had FTX here. So that might have been that final capitulation candle hitting the the previous highs of the previous bull market in 17. Now, if we do see a reclaim of this level right here, I think it's highly likely that if this happens in a risk-on environment where peak inflation is clear, I think it's actually highly likely that we'll start to see something like this, and we'll have the major high time frame bottom being put in on Bitcoin, and then we can finally start looking at resistance levels to the upside, which we haven't been able. Like I haven't seen major resistance on Bitcoin for forever. Like we're only looking down. We're only looking at like where's the strongest support. But like I'm looking forward to sell some Bitcoin up in this region as well.
Would be nice, no?
Yeah,
I mean,
been a while.
it's like, of course, it's like, maybe let me put it like this. If you are a swing trader and you are a trend following swing trader, which I believe you are, Lip, a trend following swing trader, then probably it's easier for you at the moment to look at sell signals, at short signals for Bitcoin. Absolutely, and you should be doing so by all means. And for me, I've been doing this for so long, and I always have a feeling I'm more of a contrarian trader because a lot of my positioning is very long term. I hold on to a lot of my positioning for multiple years, which you do naturally as a contrarian trader. You're not so much following trend. You look for trend reversals ahead down the road. So if you're more a long-term trader, yes, and I'll be very clear now. I shouldn't do that. It's no financial advice. I know that, but for the love of God, buy Bitcoin, really. And I'm very sure if we talk again in 4 years, we're going to be higher than we are at the moment. And if you are a swing trader, if you're looking to hold on a couple of days, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks to positions, for sure it's easy at the moment to look at bearish entries. You are going to have a better take profit target. You're also going to have a better stop loss, thus a better return risk reward ratio also for your trades. I think really we need to differentiate here a little bit. Otherwise, maybe people are getting a little bit confused.
Yeah, and what I'm doing is, I'm trading futures. I'm I'm only trading on leverage. So the only time I do buy any spot is my long-term holdings. And
Mm,
I do have a more of a contrarian view on that as well. When I see Bitcoin going down, I think, I want to accumulate. Obviously, you want to
mm,
accumulate in a downtrend and distribute in an uptrend. So with my long term bags, which I'm thinking, is like a 5 to 10 year hold. Well, obviously, I'm not going to hold a 10 year without doing anything, but like that's my horizon. 5 to 10 year is my horizon on the the cycles in Bitcoin. But when it comes to trading, when I'm looking at this chart here and I'm thinking, what levels to put my stop loss and where should I buy Bitcoin, like I'm thinking purely from a futures trading, leverage trading perspective, where I get into a trade based on my system. So I have two ways of trading. Like I trade my system, my swing trading, trend following system, where I
mm,
have very
mm.
clear rules on where to exit, and I don't have any plans on how long to hold. I'm just going to follow the rules of the system, and then that will be 1 day or 2 weeks, doesn't matter. But when it comes to my long-term holders on Bitcoin, I've been accumulating Bitcoin all the way. Like I started accumulating Bitcoin when we broke below 20K, and I've been continuously buying Bitcoin on a monthly basis ever since we broke below 20K, because I do believe that Bitcoin below 20K is a very good buy, all the way down to 10K. So I'm just going to keep on buying. So here's 20K, right? And so we can. So I think this area right here is for me a very good accumulation range for Bitcoin. And I would love to have an entry. Imagine the average entry of around 15K, which I'm probably not going to get an average entry of 15K. If this is the bottom, I'll get an average entry of maybe 18 or something like that. But still, it's very good. But if we can go lower, I can get an average entry of 15, 14. That would be really, really good. Because imagine, and if you have an average entry of 15, you're going to double your position at 30K. I mean, you're
Exactly. Yeah.
making one,
Yeah.
yeah, you're making 100% profit at only 30K, which is up here, which is at that resistance right here. So I do definitely agree with you here that we have to differentiate between different types of trading, and the way I trade is I trade with the trend. But even if so, it might be difficult for some people to understand I might, why I might short Bitcoin while at the same time buying Bitcoin, you know, because
Yeah,
I'm,
exactly, exactly.
yeah,
It's all about time horizon, And you guys, if you out there are you are new to trading, really memorize this. Make yourself free from bias if that is possible. But you can have a short term or swing trading system which shows you at the moment, hey, I want to look for short entries. Yet on the long term side, you can be extremely bullish and already accumulating. Lip has been doing this smarter than I did because I already started buying at 25,000. He
all
started
right.
buying at 20,000. But let's hope in the long run, that it doesn't really matter where you started
Yeah,
buying.
I don't
But
think
I
I don't think
agree
it matters.
if you are able to get your average buy to something, let's say between 15 and 17,000, I think you are in great shape for the next bull run that is to come.
Yeah, that's the plan. And when it comes to the next bull run, what I'm gonna do is I'm not going to, like, I'm gonna take profits. And I think, because in the last bull run, I made a case of 100K being a decent target, and I really remember how it was such a good level. It aligned with my system
Yep.
perfectly, and I still think that it's the 100K area that I have my eyes on, because that analysis was based on um, all price action of the history of Bitcoin, and
Mhm.
we haven't really broken that idea yet. So I'm trying, like, that's my plan, and that would be my profit target. Even if we go to 150 or 200, of course, I probably have a small position at that time, but most of my profits will probably be taken at 100K. And it's crazy to think about the fact that we are fairly close to 10K. And we're talking about 100K as a target. That's a 10x on the whole position. And it in my mind, it feels not crazy. You know, when I talk about all coins doing 10 times, you know, I'm like, this is not very probable, you know, not very probable. But now I'm talking about Bitcoin perhaps going to 10K in the near term future as a probable idea, and then going to 100K as an equally probable idea. And that is, to me, a sign that, you know, yeah, this is a good level to buy. Because remember when we were trading it around, like when we were trading around this area right here, nobody thought about 10K. Like nobody thought about 10K, but everyone thought about 100K. Now we're down here, everyone talks about 10K, nobody talks about 100K, you know. I feel like we're right in the middle here, so it's going to be very, very interesting. Just speaking about this, it really makes me want to get some more Bitcoin.
Buy more.
Yeah,
it's
just buy more.
I mean, it's if you look at like when COVID struck March 2020, we went down to almost 3,000, I believe, in Bitcoin. No, and then after this, we made this top at 69,000. So you had, if you really timed it perfectly, of course nobody did, but if you did this, there was a potential for 2,000%. In earnings, 2,000% we are talking about here. Who says this is not possible again?
Absolutely. It's definitely possible. I do think that most people watching this, you know, if you're watching this live and you're thinking about, you know, buying Bitcoin here, please remember that, you know, in like I am open to the possibility of Bitcoin trading lower. Let's see where the current price is. I don't have the line on here. I should probably add that. Let's see. Where do we have the price line? I do have it here. Let's make it a little bit more visible right there.
Real quick, sorry, I have to take a quick call. I'm going to be back in 1 minute.
All right, sure. All right, Dirk is he left me with the Bitcoin chart. All right, so let's take a look at Bitcoin here. And so what I was saying is, if you're watching this live and you're thinking about accumulating Bitcoin and buying Bitcoin here, you have to also remember that we are in a downtrend and peak inflation it's not obvious. The bull market is not obvious. The end to the bear market is not obvious. We are not saying that this is the end of the bull market. We're saying, though, that the probability of this being the end of the bull market is much higher now than it was 2 months ago. Much higher, right? So we're getting closer and closer and closer. So let's say you're buying Bitcoin here, right? So you have to think like, where would the idea be invalidated? So two options. You have two options, right? Which I would say, you know, if you're looking for a more trade-ish type of position where you where you look to buy Bitcoin with a fairly tight invalidation area, well, what you do right now have a very good, let's go back to this chart right here. You have a very good invalidation level for Bitcoin, which is basically the 15.5K. Right? So below 15.5K, you know, we're breaking below this range. And if you have some room for error with your position, I would say, you know, break and retest of this level, a bearish rejection at range lows, that would be your signal to exit that Bitcoin position if you're looking to be more of a trader / investor, right? So that is around a, let's say 7% loss on your position. Is 7% loss on your position. Now, if you're looking for long-term hold, I do still think that the 0.886 is a decent level, right? It's 10K, 10.5K. Now that is a where's the price level? Is it that one? Yes, that one. That's a 35% move to the downside. So you have to really think about your position sizing. Are you going to take a more trading approach with a 7% stop loss, or are you going to take a more long-term approach, a more investor type of approach, where you would perhaps lose 40% of that position? Well, if you do take this, if you do take this perspective of being an investor and a long-term investor, you have to realize that you have to have a position size where you're actually okay mentally to lose 40% of the position. Now, of course, if you can't stomach these losses, right? If you're going to panic at 20% minus, well, then use a more logical invalidation level, where you basically exit if you have something like this. But you always have to have the option in mind that you're going to be buying somewhere lower, and you also have to like think that maybe you'll get stopped out here, you could stop that here, and then price starts moving higher. And what you have to do is you have to accept the fact that you made a mistake with having the stop loss here. Maybe not a mistake, but price took out your stop loss, you lost some of that position, and now price is confirming that it's ready to move higher. So you just enter the position right away. You enter it right away again, right? You just have to accept the fact that, you made a mistake. Now I'm in again, and it happens to me all the time. What's your thoughts on that, Dirk? When you're accumulating for long term, how much are you willing to lose in percentage term on your Bitcoin positions?
I mean, long term, in generally speaking, Bitcoin is the exception, I have to say, because it makes up a large percentage of my long term portfolio, and I'm willing to go all the way to the end with Bitcoin because I'm such a big believer in that. Bitcoin is like the internet in the 90s for me. But that set aside, normally on a long term position, I'm trying not to risk more than 10% of my liquid net worth, so to say. So the assets that are available to me in trading, for trading. This is not counting real estate or anything that's illiquid that cannot quickly get your hands on when you have to. And as a matter of fact, I mean, it's basically the same like with any trade. I have a hypothesis, and before I enter a trade based on this hypothesis, I also think about, okay, when is my hypothesis proven wrong? When am I proven wrong with what I'm thinking right now? Long term, short term, it doesn't really matter about the market. This can be a price. This can be a change in economic tendencies around the world. This can be interest rates. This can be anything out there, really. It always depends on the time horizon of a trade. It depends on what asset am I trading. Of course, it's going to be, different when I'm in a long-term treasury bond trade, for example, than in a crypto trade. Because the underlying facts, the underlying economic things going on are different. Not different, but the immediate effect to that asset class is going to be different. But the game by the end of the day is always the same. You have a trading plan, and you make up your mind. When do you want to take your losses? Where is your max level of pain, so to say? And that level of pain still needs to be somewhere where you can recover from. It doesn't make sense. Normally, as I said, I broke my rule here on Bitcoin long term. It doesn't make sense to be somewhere where you lose 99% of your money for trading or investing.
Yeah, I think I'm the same here with Bitcoin. I have broken a lot of rules when it comes to long-term investing when it comes to Bitcoin, and that's also because I do truly believe that I not only do I really believe in the technology, but I believe in the effects that Bitcoin might have on the whole world in terms of restructuring the whole financial, every financial institution out there, and basically making the world a better place. But what I have a hard time figuring out, well, I have figured it out, but what I have a hard time kind of trying to wrap my head around is the invalidation of my Bitcoin position. Because, yes, if there's a bug in the Bitcoin code, like a catastrophic bug in the Bitcoin code, which just shows that it's not working, which very unlikely. It has been tested quite a lot. If that's the case, well, then, we're going to drop to very low prices very quick, and everything's just invalidated, and I'm going to lose a shit ton of money. But that is a risk that I'm taking. I believe that that's a risk that I'm taking. I think but then when it comes to like invalidations in price action, I don't think I have a clear invalidation level in price action for Bitcoin, unless the fundamentals change, right? Because I
Yeah.
can look at the Bitcoin chart and I can say, you know what? Unless the fundamentals change for Bitcoin, I'm gonna keep buying, you know, even if we go to 10 or I don't know 3K or whatever, like the 2018 bear market bottom, I'm gonna be buying down there most likely as well. Of course, I the reason also why I'm buying is because it's a downtrend, and I'm accumulating. But like it's hard to kind of wrap my head around the Bitcoin getting invalidated from a fundamental perspective. We do have a lot going on though with CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, and the world is quickly changing, and the financial landscape is really really changing. I mean, we're going into a digital world. I mean, we're going to
Yeah.
into a workforce world with AI, and a digital world with digital money, and with CBDC. I think we yeah, there's trouble. There's definitely trouble, and I think
I
this is the
think
make
this
it or break it moment for Bitcoin.
and it feels like every moment is kind of a make it or break it moment for Bitcoin sometimes, and but I think that's the point. Regulation, and I see a lot of people out there, especially on Twitter, that take this regulation hammer that is probably going to come down on us now in the upcoming months and years, is going to be the death of Bitcoin, and is going to be the case for central bank control digital currencies. And I don't think regulation can really long term stop Bitcoin, because regulation is not going to stop, for example, you and me doing a Bitcoin transaction. If we really want to do this, nothing can stop this. I mean,
What if the USA comes out and says like Bitcoin is illegal?
Yeah, can be same like China did, and still you see a lot of Chinese people using cryptocurrencies, especially Bitcoin. Of course, it's going to make things more difficult. It's going to throw us back probably for a time span, absolutely. But long term, I do not think this is going to be something that can hinder the success of Bitcoin, because there's always going to be this one country or a couple of countries, a region of the world, seizing the opportunity and saying, hey, you know what? If your country doesn't want you anymore with your Bitcoin, come to our country, and enjoy it here. We are going to welcome you with open arms. In the past, Singapore, for example, where I'm at the moment, was a hub like this, because there is like one trust fund in Singapore that has lost like $280 million, I think, in FTX. Now, maybe things are going to change here too, but still there's always going to be this region in the world. And it's just a matter of time until this region of the world is going to infect corporations as well, that maybe want to build up headquarters there, that maybe want to have Bitcoin on their balance sheet. By the end of the day, in my opinion, if we look a couple of years ago, what was like 7 or 8 years ago, when Mt. Gox collapsed, where like 95% of Bitcoin trading took place back then.
Yeah.
Bitcoin survived that. We are going to survive FTX as well. I've absolutely no doubt about this. The only case I can really think of it is going to invalidate my long-term, lifelong, long position in Bitcoin is going to be if there's something better coming along. But I don't see this, because we have this enormous decentralized network on Bitcoin now, and I don't see how anything can come along and build a bigger decentralized network. And I also think people are slowly grasping that, wow, this is actually, don't trust, verify. I shouldn't trust like anybody with the keys to my coins, at least to the majority of my coins. Of course, we still need exchanges, and I mean, I'm working for an exchange by the end of the day, and I'm trusting this exchange, but I never should trust them with all of my money.
Exactly. That's that's a good point. I mean, I have my trading capital is PrimeXBT, so I don't have any crypto on any other exchange than PrimeXBT. I have everything else is on a hardware wallet, and like I said, I trade margin leverage, I trade futures contracts, right? And that's all I do. So I don't need to have more than, let's say, 10, max 25% of my capital on an exchange, right? So but I do trust PrimeXBT, but this is crypto, and if you do trust anyone with 100%, you don't deserve Bitcoin, you know. So you really do need to understand the idea of a trustless uh, system. So I think the fundamentals are really there for Bitcoin, and nothing has changed. And we talk about Mt. Gox and we talk about FTX. Um, I mean, I do think that FTX is bigger than Mt. Gox. You know, even if
Absolutely.
Mt. Gox had like FTX is probably the biggest thing that have happened to crypto. But important thing here is FTX is a crypto and a human problem, not a Bitcoin problem. I mean, we're always gonna have, you know, we're always gonna have people like Sam. We're always gonna have, you know, organization like the you know, all these organizations like the WEF and bigger you know, world government-ish organizations. They are obviously not going to like Bitcoin because Bitcoin is 100% freedom. It gives all everyone around the globe gives 100% financial freedom to transact whenever they want, with whoever they want, and however they want, right? So we're always going to have huge corporations and governments trying to fight Bitcoin with their alternative, which would be CBDC, which would be controllable. And now I might put the tinfoil hat on here and be called a conspiracy theorist, but this is what Bitcoin is all about. This is what Bitcoin is all about. Remember the white paper. I mean, remember when the white paper came out, and with the collapse of Lehman Brothers and all of that. Like, this is the answer to the corrupt financial system that we have today. And I do really, I do really think that there is a possibility that Bitcoin will be able to survive a lot, but we can't be 100%, you know, we
Yeah.
can't be naive in thinking that it's going to survive everything. I mean, I am worried. I'm a bit worried of the next, you know, 5 years for Bitcoin, with the, you know, emerging digital economy. I think what Bitcoin has, though, is the first mover advantage. So even if there actually comes along something that might be slightly better than Bitcoin, you know, when it comes to selling products, it's all about marketing, and Bitcoin has probably the best marketing right now in crypto. It's not only brilliant marketing, it's just, it works, right? And has the proof of it working, and it has survived FTX, it has survived Mt. Gox, it has survived China banning it. It's strong, right? But I am fearful that if, especially if the US starts lobbying heavily against Bitcoin in terms of regulations, and actually making it illegal to transact with, that's gonna hurt Bitcoin, and that might even hurt Bitcoin, not fundamentally, but definitely put a dent in
Yeah.
the history of Bitcoin.
Absolutely, regulation and banning banning of Bitcoin can be a major problem. So your government can make it the living hell for you to be a Bitcoin owner or to transact Bitcoin. Bitcoin Maxi always would say, I mean, I am a Bitcoin Maxi, like, oh, this is not going to hinder the road to success for Bitcoin, but it's going to make it very, very tough for sure. When it comes to the USA, however, I mean, you can think of what you want of a USA, but one thing they are always good in my opinion, and have been in the past, is to look ahead 5 to 10 years and see where opportunities are. Like all the big technology inventions usually somehow originated in the USA to some extent, or of course nowadays also in China. That granted. So there's a little bit, the US mentality is, okay, there's something where money can be earned, so I have to seize the opportunity. And do not forget, especially this Bitcoin mining business, it's a huge business. we're talking here about hundreds of billions of US dollars by now. So they are not going to just dump that out of a window, especially since this takes usually place in areas that are not economically so strong normally. So we're talking about some small towns that maybe have difficulties attracting business normally at these larger business in America that now have Bitcoin farms, for example. They're not going to throw that so easily out of a window. Of course, the first impulse by a politician always is going to be like, we are going to ban it. We are going to make sure you're not going to lose your money on this. I stand with my word and my reputation for this.
And then they got
this
funded
is
by
the first, but
FPX.
this, yeah, and this is the first reaction always. But this is the political game. I'm very sure. The longer the time goes by, the more reasoning is going to come into this as well. Otherwise, I'm very sure we would have seen also the US doing more against proof of work already this year, which they haven't done. There were some things going on there, some discussions, of course, if proof of stake isn't better. But yeah, I mean, we can all see now that Ethereum is becoming a central bank controlled cryptocurrency that can censor blocks.
Yeah.
I said Ethereum, right? Not Bitcoin. Sorry.
Yeah, you said Ethereum.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
That's definitely problematic. I mean, I would love to see a future. I mean, just imagine if you're. I mean, I would love to see a future where you have a Bitcoin, you have decent smart contracts on Bitcoin. You're able to build a usable working decentralized exchange on Bitcoin. I mean, that would change the whole industry if
it's in the making.
Yeah.
It is in the making. There's an initiative called Taro on Bitcoin, which basically will allow smart contracts to be deployed on the Lightning networks. So on the next layer that is above Bitcoin, so to say, and using the decentralized power then of Bitcoin. And if that succeeds, it's still very early, and it's going to take years and years and years to develop this. But if it succeeds, we are going to see in a scenario where every altcoin out there is becoming obsolete.
Yeah, and it's based on Taproot, whatever that's.
Yeah, Taproot was the first update that is going to allow things like this to slowly become reality on the Bitcoin network.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I think Ethereum obviously with small contract, like Ethereum did start a massive, like Ethereum is obviously important for crypto, but I don't see a reason for Ethereum to exist when Bitcoin moves towards the smart contract idea, and especially having exchanges, decentralized exchanges built on Bitcoin. Like when that happens, like all of these altcoins. I mean, all of these altcoins. Like what? Honestly, like I don't really understand it. Like we should be focused on Bitcoin and creating stuff around Bitcoin. Now, of course, you have Monero and stuff like that, which I really am a fan of. Having private cryptocurrencies, very interesting use cases. Also, could be bad use cases as well. But when you look at I try to. It's obviously it's almost impossible, but I try to have as much cash as possible, because I don't like the idea of not having cash. I mean, I like the idea of being free to use cash to pay with stuff, right? Because it leaves no footprint, right? It's not because I'm doing anything illegal. It's just because I have the right to privacy, and just should use that right, because it's very important. And the same thing with private coins, right? Privacy coins like Monero. But that's possible to be built into Bitcoin as well. Like that's possible to be built in on Bitcoin as well. And a future where we are seeing Bitcoin as the king of crypto, like we have today, but in a much bigger scale, and probably we'll probably be able to remove 95 or even 99% of all the thousands and thousands of useless altcoins out there. Now I'm trading altcoins, but very rarely do I know what I'm actually trading. I'm just trading price action, and I have a level. I'm buying that level. It aligns with my system, and I'm buying that. But if I go into look at the actual project stuff, I can't help to think that, why do we need this? We have Bitcoin. Why do we really need this specific altcoin right here, other than trading to make money from? But if you remove those altcoins, we got people saying like, well, where are you supposed to be trading? Well, I'm trading in the Forex market, right?
Yeah.
It's so, yeah, it's interesting to see what happens. But like we've said in the beginning, I would really not recommend people, obviously, because this is not financial advice. But if I would recommend people to do something, it would be to focus on Bitcoin when investing long term in the crypto market. Yes, you'll be able to make 10 times your money and 100 times your money on some obscure, worthless altcoin. But the way I structure my portfolio is closer to 70% of that is in Bitcoin, and then some Ethereum, and then I divide up some capital into altcoins, just like a gamble. But Bitcoin is not a gamble, right? Bitcoin and Ethereum is rather safe assets, but the all other altcoins, that's gamble, is gambling for me really long term.
Absolutely, I couldn't have said it better.
All right, man. It's been an hour. Let's to end this. If you had to choose, if you had to take a trade 1 minute before the FOMC, like 30 seconds before the FOMC, if you had to take a trade, let's say Bitcoin, would you say what would be the trade here?
I would take the risk-off trade, meaning short Bitcoin, short euro dollar, short S&P 500. But I
here.
would also very, very fast close it again, probably, if we see this first initial reaction. Do also not forget we have Thanksgiving, I think, tomorrow in the USA. Friday is going to be the bridge day, so we're probably going to see very much volume on the international exchanges.
Yeah. All right. So I'm thinking, and I'm probably gonna go live tonight at around the FOMC, and I'm thinking I want to do like a. You're not gonna go live at the same time, are you?
No, I'm not going to go live tonight. No.
All right, good.
It's going to be too late for me. I mean, it's like like 4 in the morning here.
Yeah. But I'm thinking about entering a position based on this. So I would short here, profit here, and probably aim for a 2R or something like that. That's the idea I have. It's a very bad trade, honestly. With risk small, like it's if you look at the hey, use a simple break and read this off your horizontal level, but like this has nothing to do with my system though. Like if I would enter this into my journal, I would have to slap myself for taking this trade.
Yeah, but still, I mean, this is the initial reaction to the FOMC minutes was always negative in the I think the last 7, 8, or 9 times actually that I can think of. So I think it's a valid trade, really, especially since your potential profit is much higher. It's like 2 times of what you're risking. So
yeah. Well, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it live, and we'll see. I took a live trade yesterday on PrimeXBT, and that failed miserably on Bitcoin. I think I was on the 1 minute, and I went long. I think I went long here. I think I went long here, something like that, with the stops being down here. And it's a bad trade. I got stopped down and then it just ran. All right, man. So good to speak to you again. It's been great catching up and hearing your thoughts on Bitcoin, and kind of basically saying the same stuff that you've been saying for 2 months when it comes to inflation, which I like. I like that it's still going.
I've not been proven wrong in my hypothesis yet.
And I would love to see this idea work out, because it would mean that we have some really good positions on Bitcoin.
Exactly. Good.
All right.
Thanks for having me again, and take care, everybody out there.
Yeah, thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you guys tonight at around 1900 UTC around the FOMC. All right, guys, take care and see you all